David Pakman of the David Pakman Show on off-grid living. It's some funny stuff. Now, I'm not a fan of the David Pakman Show, but I don't consider his personality to be all that offensive, and he probably covers a lot of good news. But there was this clip that I saw regarding off-grid living, and he's sitting there with his co-host, and they're talking about what it would be like to go off the grid, and kind of imagining these different scenarios of all the different skills that, might need to be required to go off the grid. And, the side conversation is it's an era of time in which off-gridders are also being demonized in the mainstream media. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. There's a few documentaries that are in the works right now, and they're scouting for off-gridders that play the sovereign citizen extremist type. And, and they actually literally show people with guns in kind of a militia type stance. It's like, email this particular person, now recruiting, doing interviews, like 1,000 so many shares, all these people that basically want to be on TV without even realizing that they could be exploited. And that's the unfortunate thing. And we're talking about, you think about shows like Doomsday Preppers and other programs. I myself have been contacted by several individuals as recently as the last 6 months. Women saw the article in the Westward out of Denver, where they portrayed Costilla County to be mostly overrun by sovereign citizens without realizing that the main people they were writing about came in as an interference. You can find that article at offgridco.com. There's an article posted about that. And so the reality is a lot of people that live off the grid aren't involved in that stuff. They just want to be left alone. And what would be nice is to see how that's portrayed. Now, with regards to David Pakman, there's a word he used a lot, and his large fan base, progressive. And so you were dealing with, the cookie cutter, not to be offensive, but, leftist, progressive, liberal. But you see, what comes with that, and being that I'm from Portland, you've heard about, like other cities, smart growth, smart cities, smart meters, sustainable development, things of that nature, things that aren't really all that sustainable and don't really lead to self-sufficiency. So a lot of people out there think that they're green friendly, when on a deeper level, and I don't think that we all could be living off the grid, but it isn't as complex as they think. What I wanted to introduce to David Pakman, and he's also on Steam It, is that you can be off the grid in today's society. I'm obviously demonstrating that, and have a very low budget, and have I have less than 14,000 subscribers, and I've even seen my YouTube AdSense plummet, but yet I'm still off the grid, got a satellite internet connection, okay, don't have a lot of overhead, I'm not renting a big studio in the city. And see, a lot of these big time YouTubers are. Some of them are to the point where they have staff and they've had to do layoffs, or they have big studios that they're renting. And sometimes they think that's necessary, all of that. Having seen what I've seen at Access TV when Bill used to help me, Bill Olson, and he had his own show on Access TV, helped a lot of people too. And so he was a big help to me. And so a few people working together when it's not about money because it's their hobby and something they're passionate about, that's something that can really inspire someone. Wow, look at what's possible. You look at the world of media costs and the amount of money that some people will charge per hour. And that's fine. People need to make a living. But people are at that level of charging $25 an hour or $35 an hour. You can have upwards of $55 an hour or more when you're dealing with top grade professional documentary filmmakers. You're dealing with big time money. But the future has allowed for that same type of media activism, whether you're on the left side, the right side, or not even doing politics, to be somewhere in nature and continue doing what it is that you're doing. And it doesn't necessarily even have to be a YouTube show. There are people that run businesses from their home. I've never had the focus to really start like a business, but there's all types of businesses. Some people write a lot of ebooks. Some people do a lot of self-help stuff and write actual books, DVDs. So there's actually tons of like on-demand self-help specialized content, as well as entertainment, people that have created shows. But what kind of example have we seen with regards to a media outlet off the grid and then filming how they do certain things. But there are videos featuring off-gridders, and they're really interesting. You can learn how to do this, you can learn how to build this, you can learn how to build that, but not a media organization. So to David Pakman and others, and I've been trying to plant the seeds for years, more can actually be done with less if people were to cut out the overhead. And off-grid living is one way to do that. Off-grid living, in my opinion, is a solution to a lot of even some of the things that they're worried about. They talk about global warming and emissions and a carbon footprint. Well, what if you're not driving every single day to town and you're working from home and you've already established your home business? I mean, some people are pulling in thousands every month, but they're living somewhere where they're spending upwards of $1,000 per month to rent that space in that studio apartment. So David, I mean, the thing isn't so much whether someone has those skills or not. It's whether they can deal with the silence. It's whether they can deal with a society to where there isn't a nightclub where they can go to after they do their show and be a little important, have a good time, and have a lot of people, right, want that. And a lot of people, as they grow in the media and they start acquiring more material things and more followers, they're enjoying the fruits of this society. And it wasn't until I felt like I lost everything or didn't want to live in the city anymore that I attempted to go off grid and went off grid the first time. And it wasn't easy, but it taught me a lot. Went back to the grid, lived in a homemade teardrop camper while bringing my show back to Access TV, and then leaving in a RV and going back to Costilla County and documenting that. What I think would be a progressive idea, something that, I wish more people tackled. Instead of, well, what is this off-grid living thing? Well, what do you need to be like, what's the name of that guy that was in that documentary where he filmed himself chopping down the wood? I think he was in Colorado. It's a really famous, a lot of you are, go ahead and let me know down in the comment section. It's not like that. I don't have those skills. Some people think I should have those skills. I'm not embarrassed to say, and I think I should say, I'm just a regular guy. And I live within my means, and I, don't do the whole off-grid thing, but I live off-grid. Sure, I use money to buy things at the store. I don't have to be 100% off the grid. This isn't a hierarchy competition for me. I'm not trying to get into some TV show. In fact, I'd rather not be selected or contacted for any TV shows about living off the grid. There's other things that are, important for me to talk about. Instead of, the Alex Ansary off-grid show. Now I'm doing this. No, I'm living off the grid, but I'm going to talk about issues regarding society. And one of those is homelessness. And what would be a progressive, the way people want to define that, moving forward idea, is to find solutions to homelessness. One of the causes of homelessness, land use codes, have prevented some people from going off the grid with a few $1,000s. Now, if the land use codes and the legal structure from the federal to the state could catch up with the current economic situation, things like compost toilets and other modifications to land use codes could prevent people from feeling that they need or being forced to park in public spaces, and hopefully for the better, improve their lives. I talk about things in the future happening that may or may not happen. I'd rather be wrong. So in a more positive reality, technology would evolve to where the robot doesn't literally consume and eat us, but people develop newer and better ways to earn income for themselves. I've said dozens of times that a city that I'm from, like Portland, Oregon, can put up money on a website for people with a sound mind that literally want to get off the streets and not just run around drinking every day, but improve their life, to be able to manufacture something or build something and then market it on a social media type website. And they can use that money to get off the streets. And whether that be renting somewhere or going up, all these things are interlocked. And see, we have this massive social media thing going on and people developing their massive followings. Is it really about hits and making money and being controversial and using off the grid for hits? And I know that bloggers did that when off the grid living became illegal in Costilla County, at least those without septics. But instead of following up and helping the off-gridders or helping getting legal support, it was about the monetization and the views. But we felt, and I felt, and it was difficult to go through that, left hanging in the wind. We were outnumbered by their legal process. And the people didn't really have a way to come back, with lawyers or people in their defense, solutions, something other than back out in the streets with you, your RV and everything, off your land. People living off the grid in mindful communities can live without the necessity for a government handout. I believe that. It's not easy to get to that point. Some people, their personalities, right, blend a little better with each other. Maybe not with me, but I can look and see if people can get along in certain circles. In reality, that's what society's all about. We're not really dependent on the federal government unless we allow ourselves to be, or the state. The thing is, the grid makes it easy. Just like there's a stock market bubble, there's a standard of living bubble. And sometimes the bubble, just like the roaring 20s or right before the Depression, everything seems fine. People aren't thinking about, well, what would life, I go more into this in my geopolitical videos, be like after an EMP in the United States or a major event. And it's not fear-mongering to discuss that possibility when all these governments possess that technology and are now on a regular basis threatening to use those weapons or similar weapons and developing more powerful weapons, like the Satan II missile out of Russia. So are we to think all this is just comic book nonsense? Well, people are having fun with their Donald Trump tabloid. I'm not a fan of the guy, but let's look at the bigger picture and not just do this left-right. Swing for the Democrats. Swing for the Democrats. Seen this stuff go on too long. And so those are my thoughts. My thoughts are somebody like David Pakman should go off the grid and find out how easy it is. And then maybe do some investigations and as a larger voice in the media, right? Maybe put out some progressive ideas that some of the policies within our system and society need to be upgraded to something more progressive. I'm Alex Ansary, reminding you the path to the ultimate truth still lies within. Please visit alexansary.tv and sign up for the newsletter.